Welcome back to another episode of The Drink. In this special episode or episodes, we are going through the Brown Skin Girl Project. And today I have my special guest, Shay. Everybody say what's up.
Hey everyone.
Yes. So Shay, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, what is your passion, and what is your craft.
So I'm Shayla Breneé. I am a spoken word poet, artist, also an activist. And yeah, poetry and spoken word is my passion. It is the thing that has saved my life. And I feel like it's the tool for my calling of helping other Black women and girls
Mm,
sharing their voice in the world.
that's beautiful. I love that. So you're rolling into my next question, like, how did you become interested in poetry? Do you have a poet that you looked up to? Did you read something and you're like, I want to do that? Have you always been writing?
So actually, this is a very interesting story. I kind of stumbled into writing poetry.
Mm.
Um, like I said, poetry quite literally saved my life. So the very first time I had lost a family member, they were like really, really close to me, and it happened when I was like 10 years old. And it was my first time really dealing with grief and having to go through that process. And I had always been like a very bubbly, talkative child. And once my uncle passed away, I became very like introverted and reserved and quiet. I stopped really talking to people. I like stopped engaging with my friends. And my grandma was the one who really took a notice to that rather quickly. And she was just like, if you don't want to talk to us, if you don't want to talk to me, like just write it down. Just write your thoughts, write your feelings. It could be a doodle, it could be words, it could be whatever it is that you're feeling, but you got to get those emotions out because the light within you is like being snuffed out. And she was like, I don't want that for you. And so she gave me my very first journal. And in the beginning, like it would just be a lot of drawings and doodles. And then eventually those drawings turned into like words. And then I learned about spoken word poetry through one of my friends at school. We had a poetry club, and she was like the head of like starting that and getting us a sponsor.
Okay.
And she was just like, I think you would really be good for this. She was like, I know that you write and you're a performer. And she was like, I feel like this would be a perfect space for you to like really express yourself. And
Mm,
yeah, that's how I got into like performance poetry. But yeah, it
mm,
very much started out as like an outlet for me to just vent my emotions.
that's beautiful. I love that. So, you said you started out with doodles and then it turned into writing. Do you still draw as well, or is just writing just completely took over for you?
Um, in a sense, writing did kind of like fully take over for me, but I do still draw, like, because I got that part of me from my dad. Like, he used to draw very, very well, and so I always like got that from him. So I still doodle from time to time.
That's awesome. That's cool. Do you ever put both of them together? Like, like if you're writing a poem, do you ever like draw something on the side that like is inspired by it, or are they just kind of two separate spheres for you?
I used to do that in the beginning when I first like started writing poetry. I haven't done that as much recently, but
Mhm.
I actually that actually gave me an idea. I should do that again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes me think of Rupi Kaur. She's a poet as well, and she does like illustrations with her poems and stuff. So I would love to see you. I'd love to see you do that. I think that would be great. So wait, speaking of which, do you have a poetry book out? Are you working on one? Are you?
Yes. So I actually put out my first book of poetry called Contemplation at 3 a.m. I released that in September of 2017. So this is actually what the book looks like, a beautiful brown skinned girl with her third eye open. Um and yeah, this book is $20. You can find it on Amazon. Um, and for anyone that's like in the DMV area, if they come to any of my shows, I always bring a couple books with me to like sell and shop around. And I'm currently working on my second chapbook, which will be called The Purgatory or Black Girl Waters. So
Okay. So, oh, first of all, yes, I love that you plugged your book because yes, that's what this is for. So please, y'all, go get the book. You saw it. She held it up for y'all to see. We'll make sure to put all that information at the end of the interview. Make sure you go get it. So I have a question because I'm an author as well, a poet author. Do you like you said that you released that book in 2017, and so you're working on the second one now. Do you feel like sometimes there's like the gap between those books was too big? Do you feel like you should have released earlier? Like, what does your process look like when you're like publishing your books? Do you feel like everything's just working out in its time? Like, what does that look like?
Um, so I do feel like the gap of space between my first book and the second book has been a little bit longer than I anticipated.
Mhm.
Because though I released this book in 2017, most of the poems in this book I wrote when I was still in high school. Um,
Mm, mhm,
so these are like very, very early adolescent like thoughts of poet Shayla Breneé. And
mhm,
whereas The Waters of Black Girls Purgatory, that is very much more where my mindset is now.
mhm.
Um, and it's actually funny because the opening poem to that piece is a poem that I wrote in 2017 when this book came out. Um,
Okay. Hmm.
so I think that a lot of the pieces in the book were written between like 2017 and 2019. So I had a lot of like life experience that I had to go through in order to like fully cultivate the book because I feel like the pieces that I love most in that book are ones that I've written since the pandemic happened. And so I
Yeah.
feel like if I had put out that book before now, then it wouldn't have been the same. The message wouldn't have been the same. Like the storyline from beginning to end wouldn't have been the same. So I feel like, though I feel like the timeline was a little bit long, everything happened the way it was supposed to.
Yes. So it's so interesting because when this interview is like while this interview is airing or we're airing, it's really released. Like listeners don't know this, but we're gonna give them an insight. We're doing this interview in April, which is National Poetry Month, but your interview will be released in May, which is Brown Skin Girl Month for me personally. I mean, we really rock every month, but for me and my brand, it's in May. But I love that you're expressing all of this about yourself and about your poetry and about this because there are a lot of brown skinned girls who want to write, who want to, do this type of thing. And they probably see a lot of people, maybe they know of like bigger authors and stuff, but it's something about being another Black woman that you can relate to that, especially for me, like I'm a poet too, so I love talking to other Black women poets because I'm like, that's why I asked you that question. I'm like, do you feel this when you write? Like, I love that you are so open about expressing your journey, and not like holding anything back, holding any information back. So thank you so much for that. I just wanted to give you a little shout out. So you said you have another book out. Do you envision your poetry? Do you want to be a published author? Do you want to do more of the public speaking side of it? Do you want to do both? Like, do you want to do this full time even? Like, is this just something that you like to do on the side, or is this something you're like, no, I want my life to be all about poetry?
So I actually do both sides of it, like the performance, public speaking part, and also like being an author. I've known since I was a kid that like I wanted to write books. That was, I guess, my first side hustle in elementary school. Like I would write these little like short stories about my classmates, and I would like get one of my friends who was really good at drawing. I would get him to like illustrate the stories. And then I would put it together, like fold it and staple it, and then I would sell them to the rest of my classmates. And it
Oh,
just started off as like something interesting that I wanted to do because I was bored and had extra time in class. And then my
yeah.
classmates were like, "Oh, can you write a story about me?" So then I like started writing books about all my classmates. So
Oh,
I've known since I was a kid that I wanted to be like a published author, but I also love the aspect of performing in front of a crowd and really getting that crowd engagement and interaction. And also it's just really interesting to see the faces of people that you know have like never been to an open mic or a poetry performance before and really see them like taking in what you're saying and the art of what you're doing.
mm, that's awesome. So I have a question too, because we talked a little bit about your book and like your publishing stuff. So about your performance side, when you started performing, were you nervous or were you like, no, like I got this. Like I've always wanted to do this.
I definitely was nervous the first few times that I performed. But I will say like my friends being in the poetry club with me at my school, like definitely made me feel a lot more comfortable. I definitely felt safe in our poetry environment. And like growing up in the DMV, the poetry scene here is like we're such a big family. Like we all grew up together. Like I am close friends with damn near everybody that I met on the poetry scene when I was like in middle school and high school. Like we still keep in touch with each other. We still support each other and buy each other's books and go to our shows. So it's very much a tight knit community here. And I'm just so grateful for the DCU Slam team and everything that the resources that they afforded me being on the team, like being able to go to South Africa and perform poetry there and teach writing workshops. Like I never thought that a little Black girl from Southeast DC would ever have the opportunity to like go to a whole nother continent. Um, so that was amazing. Like going to BNV and meeting a lot of the friends that I know like throughout the 50 states. Like everything was just super life changing. So I definitely think that being in the DMV and being an artist here has shaped so much of like my content and the way I go about my performances.
Yeah. Wow. That is so cool. That is amazing that like that you have that tight knit community in your city. I resonate. I live in Tennessee in Chattanooga, and we have a lot of poets. Just that we're really tight knit, and we know each other, and we cheer each other on. I'm sorry, you can hear my sister's dog in the background. Oh yeah, he's whining. But that is so beautiful, and that you were able to have those people in your life and those opportunities to really like bring you to where you want to be. Like, to go to South and like do what you love, like that is so that's inspiring. That's pushing me to be a better poet right there. Like I'm like, okay, like I need to go harder. I need to do something. That's so cool though. That is amazing. So I think I had another question too about your performances, and now it's slipping my mind. Oh, that's what it is. So when you perform, are you one that like you have to memorize all the stuff before you perform, or do you read? And I don't judge either way. I wanted to know.
So typically I'm a perfectionist, and it's probably because I was raised by two Virgo parents. For anyone that's into astrology, if you know, you know. Um, but yeah, I'm a perfectionist, so definitely like pushing myself to memorize all my pieces, like, and especially I think that too came from being a part of the DCU Slam team and like getting ready for BNV and all of the competitions that we were in, like regional and then statewide. Definitely, it was like you don't touch the stage if your piece isn't memorized.
Woo,
Like
yeah.
definitely we're not going on stage like reading poems at all.
And
um
the difference between reading and performing. So
mhm,
mm,
yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
I
so
feel like just going to a regular open mic, there have been times where like I had a poem that I wrote like on the way to the open mic and I was like, ooh, this is really good. And I want to see like what other people think about it. So like I'll read it there at the open mic. But when it
mm,
comes to like slamming and competition wise, like I'm not
mm.
doing anything that isn't fully memorized.
Yeah, that's what's up though. And there is a different vibe between like you said, open mic and like slam poetry. I'm not a
Mhm.
slam poet. So when other poets invite me to slam poetry, I'm like, I'm gonna be a slam poet. I memorize something, but like slam poetry ain't really my genre.
It's a very different world. It's yeah.
But man, I love it. I totally am for it because poetry is poetry and I'm for it. But yeah, that's definitely a major difference between, like you said, open mic and like slam poetry. Like and competitions too. Like you said, you gotta memorize your stuff. You're gonna be in a competition and perform it in such a way that's like capturing the audience. So oh, I want to talk so much more about this. Honestly, we're just gonna have to have you for National Poetry Month because we could talk all day. Um, so I want you to tell us three random facts about yourself.
Ooh, three random facts about me.
Hmm.
Um, hmm, I am a Pisces,
Hmm.
so I love the water. Um, that's part of like why I named my second book The Waters.
Mm,
Because it's a play on my love of water and also like ancestry wise, like the relationship that Black people have with the water.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so yeah, so that's one. Two, um, oh, I'm going to my very first Beyonce concert this year, and I'm super excited about that.
Did you get like where are you in regards to like the stage? Are you like on the floor? Are you like up in the crowd? You got some seating? Like where are you sitting for the concert?
So we're not on the floor, but we're like directly above the floor, like
That's
towards the
good.
center. So we have really good seats.
That's really good. I don't think I've talked to anybody who's got a Beyonce ticket, but until you. So that's
I'm so excited. Like I screamed when I got the tickets. Yeah. And then third interesting fact about me. Um, I love traveling. Like I have had a passport since I was a junior in high school.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, like traveling has just always been something that my grandmother instilled in me. Like at a very early age, she was like, there is more to life than the block that you live on. And she
Mm,
was very adamant about me exploring the rest of the world and just seeing other cultures and other languages and just being a very well rounded human being.
that that is so awesome. Okay, last question before we close. So I'm hosting the Brown Skin Girl Project this year on my podcast, The Drink. And The Drink is about mostly like, I use it because I love water too. So the drink is another form to say like the ocean or a body of water, but it's also a verb like drinking something. So I put those two together and I said, okay, I want this podcast to be about drinking in the sea of wisdom that is laid out before us, whether it be through our conversation, what we're talking about, through my life, if I'm doing this on my own or whatnot. So I want you to share a piece of wisdom that you're holding on to right now, that's really like keeping you motivated, or something that someone just told you that just really resonated with you or that you're sitting with right now. Also, after that, I want you to, in the spirit of the drink tradition, tell us what your favorite drink is.
Okay. Um, a piece of wisdom that has been sitting with me lately is the importance of letting go, knowing when to let people go, situations that no longer serve you,
Mm,
that are no longer helping you, anything that doesn't encourage you or uplift you or elevate you to
mm,
a new space of potential. Um, just letting those things and people and places go, and
mm,
knowing that just because you have to let something go doesn't mean that you have to love it any less. It doesn't mean that it didn't matter or that it wasn't important when it was there during that part of your life, but it just means that it's time for you to elevate to a new place. And those old things can't always come with you to these new places in your journey.
mm. So true. Mm. Yeah, that's a definitely a good piece of wisdom to hold on to and to keep with you as you like move forward. So, what is your favorite drink?
My favorite alcoholic drink would probably be a Sex on the Beach.
Ooh, okay.
I love it. I love like fruity, sweet tasting things. Like, I
Yeah.
think when I was younger, it definitely was about like, oh, I just want to drink to get drunk. Like, I don't care about how it tastes. I took everything like straight. I didn't do mixed drinks at all. Like, when I first started drinking, I just took everything on the rocks. Like, I was like, I just want to be drunk, child. Like, I just want to have a good time. But now that I'm like a little older, I
Mhm.
definitely care about things tasting good and feeling good as I'm experiencing them. And I guess that's also kind of another bit of wisdom that I've been sitting with recently is like enjoying experiences in the moment
Mhm.
and not just like zooming through everything, but really taking time to stop and like take in whatever situation I'm going through.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's another wow. Yep, you hit us with a double whammy on that wisdom now. Okay, yes. So lovely. Oh my word. So thank you so much, Shay, for just being on here, for wanting to be here and expressing yourself and who you are. I hope that everyone who listens to this podcast, watches this podcast, will buy your book and support you and look forward to the next one because I'm gonna definitely get myself a copy. I love supporting other poets. So thank you so much for joining us. And y'all, again, I'm gonna put all of her social media and stuff, where her book is located, the end of this podcast, and the details of the podcast. So you'll see all of that. And Shay, it was so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed being here so much.
Of course. Oh, anytime. Anytime. You're truly welcome anytime on the podcast. So, all right. I'll talk to you at some point, sometime after this.
Thank you.